coming. On behalf of the North Fork Writers Group, we would like to thank Scott Rolson of Burton's Books for allowing us to do a reading here. He's a tremendous supporter of authors on the East End, and we really appreciate his willingness to give us this space, so we thank him. We keep evolving in our writing. We give each other a tremendous amount of encouragement. We've established deep friendships within the group. We're going to be reading short snippets of our books, of our stories. Then we're going to open it up to a Q&A. So at that point you can ask us anything, more or less, about each of the stories or how we got our ideas or inspirations, and we might tell you.
Focused on the numerals, his toe snags the edge of an unnoticed shift in the aged concrete sidewalk's plane. Off balance, he stumbles toward the curb, colliding on the way with a large metal can of putrid discarded trash. He remains upright, only barely, but the container surrenders to gravity. The resulting cascade of shattering glass and bouncing cans fractures the silence of the deserted block, echoing off the facades of the stone structures lining the urban canyon. He follows the receding glissando of an intact bottle as it rolls along the potholed asphalt. His attention's diverted from the bottle's retreat by a boom that sounds from an undisclosed recess in the attached row of buildings.
As usual, she took a wandering path through the curios and remnants of other people's stories without touching anything. Money was too scarce to be tempted with that, but it was nice to look.
Yes, come look.
Something shimmered just behind a clock. On an old table, she slipped around umbrella stands and followed the shimmering past rocking chairs until she found a strange oblong box about the width of her palm. Without realizing, she picked it up and held it to the light. The thick glass was so old and clouded in the metal soft frame, she couldn't quite make out what was inside.
Mervyn is unprepared for the man. Gauntly thin with a pallid face, O'Shea looks almost wraith-like, but his style of speech sounding like an 18th century English novel confounds Mervyn more. Do I have the honour, sir, of addressing Dr. Frankel, the eminent guide to recovery for wayward minds? Mervyn opts for informality. Feel free to call me Mervyn. Do you know why I'm here, Mr. O'Shea? I was advised by the exquisite Miss Rufio, envoy of my attorney Grantley Walton, Esquire, that you are to evaluate my competence to stand trial. Was I aptly informed, sir? Near enough. But today's half hour is for me to gauge if you'll talk freely enough for me to be any help to your lawyers. O'Shea's pale eyes flare, but his voice is steady. This room offers a table and chairs, sir. Sitting would foster such a rapport.
Chris was filled with vague unease and sense of shame and chose to spend his days alone. He couldn't be sure what people had heard, what people may have known, and over the past few months he had fallen into something of a routine. There were mornings of sleeping in and finding his mother gone and the house empty. He would wander downstairs to the murky tree-shaded playroom, drink iced tea made from a powdered mix,
approached the artist and blurted out, "I would like to challenge you to an American-Russian friendship race." A broad smile came over his face. "Ah, you also breed cockroaches?" Anne nodded. He took her to a room with a terrarium where cockroaches were perched on sawdust. He picked one up. This is Ivan the Terrible. Anne softly rubbed his chitin body and gushed, "Oh, he's beautiful." The artist nodded like a proud father and said, "No doubt, our race will be remembered in cockroach history."
And looked into each other's faces, touching and feeling skin and hair, all denied them for over 20 years. During the bumpy 2-hour ride to his home, they spoke of the feast they were planning that night in his honor. They were disappointed that he could only stay for 3 days, but they understood that he had to get back to his work and his family.
I wonder, is he right, Gracie? He makes not 1 ounce of sense. Would you just look at the street what it is now? This is no Main Street, USA back in the 50s. This is some kind of silk route. Clothes from India and Martha's shop next door. Flowers from Belgium down the street. I mean, Gracie, you, Alvin, and I, we're ghosts.